Most people assume frozen vegetables are frozen vegetables. Same product, different bag. That assumption is what 10 brands on this list are built on. Some source from countries with weaker agricultural regulations and publish zero testing results to prove what came through. Others charge premium prices for a quality promise they define only in marketing copy, not in independent lab data. One brand uses blanching water recycled across hundreds of batches without disclosing how often it's replaced. Another's picture-perfect uniform vegetables are sorted that way specifically, and the sorting process removes some of the most nutritious product in the batch. 10 brands to think carefully about, 3 that actually passed. Worst first, best after. Here's number 10. Number 10. Great value frozen vegetables. Nobody's surprised to see this one, but it sets up everything that follows, so it's worth understanding exactly why. Great Value is Walmart's house brand. The whole model is built around one objective: lowest possible price. That's not a judgment, that's just what they're selling. The real question is what that price costs you on the other side. To hit those numbers, Great Value sources from wherever growing is cheapest. That frequently means countries operating under agricultural regulations that are significantly weaker than what American consumers would expect. Consumer Reports published independent testing that identified pesticide residues across multiple Great Value vegetable products. Not theoretical residues, detectable levels of chemicals that wouldn't pass organic farming standards in the United States. Here's why that happens at the processing level. Industrial frozen vegetable facilities move thousands of pounds of product every single hour. That throughput doesn't allow for thorough individual washing. Flash freezing is the priority. It's what controls cost and extends shelf life. So cleaning becomes secondary. At that volume and speed, field dirt, insect fragments, and chemical residues don't always get removed before the bag is sealed. Zero third-party testing results published. No sourcing information by region. No stated pesticide limits. No external verification. That opacity isn't accidental. If the sourcing details were public, the value proposition would be a much harder sell. When a bag of frozen broccoli costs less than a single fresh head, something got cut to close that gap. It's almost always the same things: quality control, cleaning standards, and contaminant testing. The brand right next to it on the shelf runs the same playbook. Different logo, same game. Number 9. Market Pantry Frozen Vegetables. Target's private label is doing exactly what Walmart does. It just has better packaging while doing it. Market Pantry vegetables move through bulk commodity suppliers where traceability disappears the moment product enters a processing facility. You can't find out which country these vegetables were grown in, what pesticides were used, or what agricultural standards the original farm operated under. The supply chain passes through multiple intermediaries, and accountability gets a little thinner at every handoff. Here's something that almost never comes up in the frozen food aisle. In high-volume operations, the water used for blanching, that's the brief heat treatment that sets color and begins preservation, gets recycled across hundreds of batches before it's replaced. Each cycle accumulates residue from what came before: soil particles, pesticide runoff, whatever the previous load was carrying. The water touching your vegetables in batch 400 is chemically different from what touched batch 1. Market Pantry doesn't disclose water treatment protocols or how often that water gets cycled. That's not a footnote. That's information that directly affects what ends up in your food. Then there's the steamer bag. Worth slowing down here. The convenience is real. Drop it in the microwave. 4 minutes. Done. But the plastic in those pouches, even with a BPA-free label, is not chemically inert under heat. BPA-free means one specific compound was removed. It doesn't mean the replacement compounds have been studied to the same depth. Some of them haven't been. And when you're heating plastic in direct contact with food, that matters. The industry has been slow to address it, because addressing it would cost money. That part matters when you're choosing what to buy every single week. Number 8. Bird's Eye Classics Lime. Bird's Eye has been in American freezers for decades. That's a genuinely powerful legacy, and the brand knows exactly how much work it's doing for them. But a reputation from one era doesn't carry the practices of the current one. The Classics line is where that gap shows up. These products come from conventional farming operations, synthetic pesticides throughout the growing cycle. The Environmental Working Group categorizes conventional frozen vegetables as moderate risk for pesticide exposure. No organic certification on the Classics line means the green beans, corn, and mixed blends in that familiar packaging were almost certainly treated with glyphosate and neonicotinoids. Both compounds are the subject of mounting, peer-reviewed scientific concern around hormone disruption and neurological effects. This isn't fringe territory. It's accumulating mainstream research. The processing adds another layer. Industrial throughput makes genuine individual inspection impossible. Independent testing of some Bird's Eye Classics batches has found vegetable fragments and field debris that thorough washing should have caught. A cleaning step calibrated for speed, not thoroughness. There's something specific worth noticing about how Bird's Eye talks about the Classics line. Their marketing leans heavily on freezing technology, how fast they freeze, what their freeze process does. What they don't mention is what happens before the freeze. Pre-freeze decontamination, washing protocols, what's on those vegetables when they arrive from the farm. That's not a gap. That's a deliberate choice about what not to say. One more thing. That vivid, consistent green in the bag isn't always natural. Color retention during blanching can involve chemical additives, introduced specifically to keep vegetables looking bright months after harvest. Industrial fresh looking and actually fresh are two different things. Number 7. Green Giant Valley Fresh Steamers. Green Giant has pulled off something genuinely impressive. They made a steamer bag feel like a responsible health decision. The product behind that positioning is where it starts to fall apart. Valley Fresh steamers come from large contract farms using conventional agricultural methods. No organic certification means no restriction on pesticide use. That picture-perfect uniformity, every carrot the same length, every floret the same size, didn't happen naturally. Chemical inputs and industrial sorting at the farm level produce that cosmetic consistency. The steamer bag carries the same concerns as Market Pantry. Multiple polymer layers engineered for microwave heat still release compounds into food when heated. Green Giant says the bags meet FDA safety standards, but FDA clearance means won't cause acute harm at tested levels. It is not the same as optimal for your health when you're microwaving it twice a week for a year. The standard isn't calibrated to how most people actually use this product. Here's what most people never hear. The industrial sorting that creates that uniform look actively removes some of the most nutritionally dense product in the batch. Smaller, irregular vegetables, the ones that grew at field edges, without chemical size assistance, often test higher for phytonutrients and antioxidants than the larger, cosmetically consistent ones. Industrial sorting rejects them. What makes it into the bag is selected for appearance. Nutrition isn't the selection criteria. A steamer bag containing vegetables and a steamer bag optimized for your health are not automatically the same thing. If this investigation is useful, a quick like helps other shoppers find it. We're about halfway through the skip list. 5 more brands to cover, and the number 1 will genuinely surprise you. Number 6. Pick Sweet Farms. This one doesn't get much national attention because it's primarily a regional brand. Popular in the American South, trusted by people who grew up with it. That regional identity is exactly the problem. Pick Sweet sources from conventional farms across multiple states. Quality standards shift depending on which supplier is filling a given order. That inconsistency has a documented trail. Consumer complaint patterns, repeated reports of insects, visible soil debris, and plant contamination found inside sealed bags aren't one-off incidents. When those reports surface repeatedly across different locations and different production batches, that's a systemic failure in washing and inspection, not bad luck. A pattern. Pick Sweet doesn't participate in third-party certification programs that would verify what they're claiming on the label. Their marketing uses the language of farm-sourced authenticity, but no specific farms are named. No farming practices disclosed. No chemical inputs identified. That vagueness isn't accidental. If specific farming partners were publicly identified, consumers could investigate directly. The brand would lose the cover the vagueness provides. Standard industrial flash freezing. Nothing proprietary. Nothing that differentiates them on quality. Southern heritage is an emotional appeal, not a food safety standard. Without organic certification or disclosed pesticide testing, buying PicSweet is a bet on a track record the company itself hasn't been willing to document. Number 5. Kroger frozen vegetables. We're in different territory now. The brands start looking more legitimate. That's exactly what makes what's underneath worth understanding. Kroger's house brand runs the supermarket private label formula. Source from bulk suppliers on price, packaged generically, and let shelf placement do the marketing. The supply chain runs on price competition, not quality competition. Contracts go to whoever hits the cost target. Pesticide testing protocols, sourcing regions, residue limits, none of it is published. The packaging gives you the legally required nutrition label and nothing beyond it. The consumer complaint pattern is consistent enough to be meaningful. Chemical tastes and unusual textures show up repeatedly in documented buyer feedback. That almost always happens when quality control is defined as doesn't cause immediate illness, rather than any actual nutritional standard. The floor Kroger sourcing is built around is acute food safety. Long-term pesticide accumulation from regular consumption isn't something their supply chain is designed to address. The mixed blends deserve specific attention because they compound the problem. Carrots, peas, corn, green beans, each drawn from a separate sourcing stream, potentially a different supplier with a different pesticide profile. One underperforming supplier doesn't disqualify the batch, it gets mixed in. The contamination gets distributed rather than removed. When a store brand sits 40% below certified organic on the same shelf, that gap has to be explained by something. It's almost always sourcing compromises that don't stay at the farm. Number 4. Signature Select frozen vegetables. This is Safeway and Albertsons house brand, and it's a useful case study in how a supply chain loses accountability without anyone doing anything obviously wrong. Signature Select vegetables are sourced through commodity brokers, intermediaries who aggregate from multiple farms and sell into retail channels without necessarily tracking which specific farm a shipment came from. By the time vegetables reach a processing facility, the farm of origin may already be undocumented. Traceability disappears not through negligence. It disappears because the broker model doesn't need it to function. That creates a very convenient outcome for the retailer. Plausible deniability. Nobody can confirm where these vegetables were grown or what was applied, because the system was never designed to capture that information. The processing side compounds this through what you'd call contamination by averaging. When vegetables from multiple suppliers combine in a single processing run, standard for commodity-sourced product, a batch with elevated pesticide residues from one supplier doesn't get rejected. It gets diluted into the broader volume, thinned just enough to clear a testing threshold. The problem doesn't get removed, it gets spread around. The word select in Signature Select is pure marketing. These vegetables were selected based on who could hit the price point for a given order cycle. Consumer reviews consistently flag mushy texture and flat flavor, markers of product that either wasn't fresh when processed or experienced temperature inconsistencies in transit. That degradation doesn't reverse in your freezer. It arrives with the product. Number 3. Season's Choice frozen vegetables. Aldi has earned real loyalty among shoppers trying to eat well on a budget. That makes this one harder to say. But the frozen vegetables are exactly where the efficiency model hits its ceiling. Season's Choice products are made by third-party contractors competing for Aldi's supply contracts. The selection criteria is price, not testing rigor, not sourcing transparency, not farming practice standards. Price. The contractor filling your frozen broccoli order this month may be completely different from who filled it 3 months ago. Aldi adjusts sourcing based on cost shifts and incoming bids. The bag looks the same. The source doesn't have to be. For someone who found a product they trusted and kept buying it, that instability matters, and it doesn't show up until it needs to. There's also a structural storage issue specific to how Aldi operates. Fewer SKUs through fewer locations means frozen vegetables can sit in warehouse and store freezer environments longer before reaching a shopper. Frozen doesn't mean nutritionally static. Vitamins degrade even at sub-zero temperatures over time. Nutrient quality is a function of initial quality at harvest and time spent in the cold chain. Aldi's model puts pressure on both simultaneously. Season's Choice carries no organic options in most locations. For the budget-conscious shopper who's also trying to avoid pesticide exposure, there's no alternative on the Aldi shelf. You can save money at checkout and spend it somewhere else later without realizing it. Number 2. Vegol mixed vegetables. Vegol has been in American grocery stores long enough that reaching for it feels like a reflex. That shelf legacy carries enormous trust. The product has stopped earning it. Independent nutritional analysis has consistently placed Vegol at the lower end of quality compared to competing brands, not just on pesticide risk, but on measurable nutrient density. Harvested at industrial scale, processed through high-volume facilities, frozen with minimal quality screening beyond the legal baseline. The company doesn't test for mycotoxins or pesticide residues beyond what the law requires. That legal minimum is their ceiling, not their floor. The mixed vegetable format creates a specific compounding exposure issue worth understanding. Carrots and potatoes absorb and retain pesticides differently than leafy vegetables or corn. Combine those profiles in a single product and you're not just getting the risk of one vegetable type, you're potentially getting multiple residue types in a single serving. The combined effects of different pesticide compounds at low-level, long-term exposure haven't been well studied. That's not a reassurance. That's a gap. Consumer feedback on Vegol consistently surfaces metallic tastes and unusual chemical smells. Those signals aren't random. They're your body's detection systems flagging something outside a normal range. That response exists for exactly this kind of situation. It's worth listening to. Vegol exists on shelves because every category needs a lowest price entry point. Holding that position requires compromises at every step. Those compromises don't stay at the facility. They come home with the bag. The number one brand is a different kind of problem entirely. And this is the one most people genuinely won't see coming. Number 1. C&W Frozen Vegetables. This is the one that changes how you read a frozen food label. C&W markets itself on premium quality. To be precise, C&W does offer organic options, and those operate under a different set of standards. That's not what we're looking at here. Their standard non-organic line is a different story. Independent testing of C&W conventional frozen vegetables found pesticide residues in several products at levels that independent researchers flagged as concerning for regular consumption, not trace amounts at the edge of detection, levels that registered as a real concern for someone buying this product on a regular basis. Here's exactly why they're number 1. When a shopper picks the brand priced higher than everything else on the shelf, and C&W's conventional line is priced above comparable conventional competitors, the implicit deal in that price is better. Better sourcing, better testing, better quality. That's what premium pricing signals. That's the deal being made. C&W doesn't publish third-party testing results, doesn't provide information about which farms supply their conventional line or what those farms' practices look like. Uses the word premium without defining it in any measurable way. That higher price is buying better packaging and more persuasive brand language, not demonstrably cleaner vegetables. At least the budget brands know what they are. Great Value, Kroger, Season's Choice. They're not pretending. C&W's conventional line sells the perception of quality at a premium price, while sourcing through the same industrial conventional channels as every brand we've already covered. That gap between what the brand communicates and what's actually in the bag is what makes this the most serious problem on the list. The deception isn't in the ingredient panel, it's in the positioning. And the positioning is what most people trust before they look at anything else. That's the one that's hardest to see, which is exactly what makes it the most expensive mistake in the frozen aisle. Deep breath. That's the skip list. Every brand we just went through operates under the same core assumption, that supply chain transparency is optional, that independent testing results don't need to be shared, and that the word quality belongs to whoever prints it on the bag. The good news is that this isn't how the entire category works. 3 brands went through a completely different set of filters. Here's what clean actually looks like. Best option number 3, Cascadian Farm Organic. One thing worth knowing up front: Cascadian Farm is owned by General Mills. That's a fact worth having before anything else. But ownership doesn't automatically set operational standards. And in Cascadian Farm's case, the organic certification infrastructure holds up independently of who signs the checks. Every product in the line carries USDA organic certification. That certification isn't self-reported. It requires independent third-party verification and regular testing by certifying bodies with no financial relationship to the brand. 0 synthetic pesticides, no chemical fertilizers, no genetically modified seeds. Those aren't marketing claims, they're legally enforceable conditions of the certification. Violate them and the certification gets revoked. The sourcing works differently too. Cascadian Farm publishes information about their farming partners and growing regions. You can actually find out where a specific product came from. The traceability that evaporates inside commodity supply chains is deliberately preserved here. Washing and blanching are designed to preserve nutrients, followed by flash freezing within hours of harvest. Freezing close to peak ripeness locks in vitamins and antioxidants that degrade during extended transport. Independent nutritional analysis consistently places Cascadian Farm above conventional competitors on antioxidant and phytonutrient content. Yes, it costs more than great value or market pantry. The certification, sourcing transparency, and independent verification are what you're paying for. That part's real. Best option number 2, Woodstock Farms Organic. Woodstock has been doing organic since the 1980s, building supply relationships and processing protocols before the retail market had any real demand for them. That's not heritage marketing. That's operational depth that took decades to build. The product carries both USDA organic certification and non-GMO project verification, 2 independent systems with separate verification requirements and no shared oversight. Sourcing is built on long-term farm partnerships, in some cases spanning decades. That continuity produces quality accountability that contract language alone can't replicate. Woodstock's testing is the most rigorous on this entire list. Every production lot is tested against more than 300 potential contaminants, pesticide residues, heavy metals, mycotoxins, and those results are publicly available. You can look up your specific product and see the actual testing data. That level of documented, batch-specific transparency has no equivalent among any of the 10 brands in the Avoid section. Processing happens in certified organic-only facilities. No conventional product runs through the same lines. Cross-contamination isn't reduced, it's eliminated by design. Hand sorting before flash freezing. Freezing technology chosen specifically to preserve cellular structure and nutritional content. Pick up the bag and read it. Woodstock lists country of origin, harvest date, and freeze date. Not because regulations require it, those details exceed what's legally mandated. They're there because the company decided consumers deserve to know what they bought and when it was processed. That philosophy is either part of how a brand operates or it isn't. Best option number 1, 365 by Whole Foods Organic. This might feel like the expected pick. Here's the actual reason it earns the top spot, and it goes beyond quality alone. Every 365 frozen vegetable product is USDA organic certified and non-GMO project verified. But the Whole Foods Quality Standards program layers additional requirements on top of those baselines. Testing for contaminants that goes beyond what the law requires, pesticide residue levels, heavy metal content, and microbial safety all tested against thresholds that exceed federal minimums. This is documented, not self-reported. That distinction matters. Sourcing is tracked with detailed records of farming regions and agricultural practices. Partner farms use regenerative agriculture methods, going beyond avoiding synthetic inputs to actively rebuilding soil health with each growing cycle. Healthier soil chemistry produces measurably more nutrient-dense food. The research on this is growing and verifiable, not brand claims. Processing happens in dedicated organic facilities with strict contamination prevention protocols. Flash freezing begins within 4 to 6 hours of harvest. That timeline matters. It preserves maximum nutritional value by not allowing the post-harvest degradation that builds during extended transport. Independent testing consistently places 365 at the high end for nutrient retention. Vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. The actual metrics that matter when you're choosing a vegetable for what it does for your body, not just to fill a plate. Here's what genuinely separates 365 from the other two. Pricing. Whole Foods has positioned 365 competitively, often within range of mid-tier conventional brands. You're not paying a large premium over Kroger or Great Value for a product operating in a categorically different class. The gap between cost and quality that drives almost every decision in the frozen aisle is narrower here than anywhere else on the market. If you take one brand away from everything covered today, this is it. If this breakdown helped you think differently about what's in your freezer, a like really does help this reach other shoppers who need the same information. Here's where we land. 10 brands running on the same shared assumptions. That supply chain transparency is optional. That testing results don't need to be public. That conventional farming chemical inputs are an acceptable baseline for products going into family meals. And that the word quality is something a marketing team decides, not something an independent laboratory verifies. 3 brands that made different choices. Choices that carry a real cost to maintain, and that show up in what's actually inside the bag. The next time you're in the frozen aisle, you have real information now. Not alarm, not guesswork, the specific mechanisms by which corners get cut, and the specific certifications that prevent those cuts are documented and verifiable. You know what to look for. Frozen vegetables are one of the most efficient ways to get genuine nutrition into a household. Affordable, low waste, and genuinely good for you when they come from the right source. The category isn't broken. It just rewards the shoppers who understand what they're actually buying. Next time you're standing in that freezer aisle, you'll read the label differently. That's what this was for.